Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are doing a special live stream this evening because something special has just happened. A lot is happening in the country. We would love to be coming to you from time to time to discuss about some of the pertinent issues, whether political, socio-economic, whether it's societal related. We would like to bring them on board, even on a daily basis, to discuss them. But when the cases are as pertinent as this one that we have this evening, we like to bring them on board so that we can also get your own opinions about the issue. Imagine being sentenced to life in prison without even being in court to defend yourself. That is the story of Abdul Karim Ali. Is an Anglophone activist who dared to speak up for his people. He was detained, tortured, held incommunicado, and for several months and years after his detention, he has now been sentenced by the military court in Yaoundé, even though he is a civilian. This is a recurrent issue in Cameroon now, where we see civilians being sentenced in military courts. It's been denounced by human rights lawyers, international human rights organizations, and even defenders of human rights in Cameroon and out of the country have been criticizing this practice that has become a common phenomenon, where you see ordinary Cameroonians, ordinary civilians are being tried and taken to military courts. And it's time that we all come together to start talking about this. It's time that we start having this conversation. I would like to look detailedly into Abdul Karim's case. That will be later, a little bit later, because it's a whole huge case on its own. It's a very, very important topic. But we will talk about that later because it's very important for us to have that conversation. Today, I would like us to talk about something else. Cameroonians being arrested for nothing and being asked to pay exorbitant sums to be released. A few weeks ago, you remember on these platforms or on all our social media platforms, we had discussed a similar issue where a purely family matter became a spiraled. It came online and we started talking about it. And it ended up with one family member spending several weeks in detention just because another family member decided that they would get them arrested. And we saw how it ended. We have a similar case today, and that's why we are coming live. An 11-year-old child in Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon, has been abandoned by his mother. He's been abandoned, not because she purposely decided to do so. It's after the mother was arrested simply because she owed someone 70,000 francs CFA. And that is equivalent to, it's not even up to 100 US dollars. This arrest was orchestrated by gendarmerie authorities, particularly, I would want to call his name Mr. Medua Achille Patrick. He is the commander of the gendarmerie brigade in Kululun, that is New Bell, Douala, economic capital of Cameroon. They have kept this young woman for more than 48 hours now, and they're asking her to pay nearly 100,000 francs CFA for her file to be looked at, for them to review her case and see what they are going to do to see whether she can be released or not. And someone who could not pay 70,000 to someone she was owing is now being asked to pay about 100,000 francs to get her released. Her son is there stranded. She doesn't know how and where the son is staying now because she's been in detention for more than 48 hours now. And honestly, the honest question is, should she has been detained in the first place? Is that justice? Is that where we want to see the country heading? But before we talk to her lawyer, I spoke to her earlier. The emotions are running very, very high. To even talk was impossible because she was in tears explaining her situation. I had to just record it so that I can share her own side of the story. Though briefly, she's French speaking, but I guess that most of us can understand exactly what she is saying. Just take a listen.
Allô, la mère, bon, la petite vient de partir là, elle s'est déshabillée, elle est partie. Elle dit ses filles, on avait trouvé un terrain d'entente sur 15 000 pour ma libération. Elle me dit ceci. qu'elle est partie dans le bureau du commandant. Le commandant a dit que je ne sors pas. Je me sorti plutôt demain matin. Le jour qu'on dormit ici, que le procureur a prononcé, je dois sortir ce gars. Il dit c'est ce qui ne me fait pas confiance. Je peux partir, je ne reviens pas que demain matin, on va m'envoyer, on va me libérer avec deux gendarmes. On va me libérer avec deux gendarmes. Donc, ils vont aller voir le chez moi. Et je reviens. Je soit que ne voulant pas que je passe tout le week-end ici, autant que demain matin, est férié, il sera pas là. Il sera pas là demain. C'est que je passe tout le week-end. Autant que demain est férié. Son manigas, c'est comme ça depuis la journée pour que je passe tout le week-end ici, pour que le mercredi, on peut te faire encore.
Okay, so for those who could not understand what she was saying, she's just explaining that she's probably going, she's spending the night, because I just spoke to her as well a couple of minutes ago, and she was telling me that she is worried because tomorrow is public holiday. It's Good Friday, and we know it's public holiday in Cameroon. It means that if she is spending the night tomorrow there, it means she will also be there the entire weekend, and she might only be able to see her son next week only. So it's a very, very worrying situation. And we can feel the emotions in her voice, in the way she's expressing herself. I also spoke to her. She was soon just worried about, the fact that she's going to be spending several hours more days there. She's also worried about the situation, the circumstances in which she finds herself. Just also listen. Explique-moi un peu ce qui s'est passé. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Tu, tu es où en ce moment? Brigade Nkululu, n'est-ce pas? Comment est-ce que vous vous trouvez là-bas? Comment est-ce que vous vous êtes trouvé là-bas? Okay, so because it's so emotional, we would want to halt it at this point. She's also saying that she is in the same cell with men. So we don't know what is happening. We don't know what has happened to her. We can hear and feel the emotion. But we are going to bring her lawyer on board, who is Barrister Michelle Ndoki. She's been working on the case. She's going to be telling us where we are at and what is the way forward. Hello, Barrister. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hello, Mimi, and thank you so much for giving the opportunity to Cynthia to speak up and to let the world know about what is happening to her. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. So I just wanted to find out from you, what exactly is Cynthia being accused of? And should she actually be in detention?
Yes. Actually, what happened is Cynthia ordered a certain number of dress from a sewer, a young lady who sews dress for a living. So she paid part of the money, and she did not pay all of it because she could not sell it, because it was something that she was buying to resell. So she could not sell it as fast as she thought. And there were issues about the quality. So the issue escalated, and she went to the gendarmerie first time, and she agreed that she will pay 20,000 every month, which she did for a certain number of time. But then she had already paid 120,000 CFA francs to that lady. There were still 70,000 to be paid. Mm-hmm. That's when last month, the 20,000 she was supposed to give, she could not, the end of March. So the lady got annoyed, assaulted her, and from what I understand, filed a complaint. So to answer your question, first thing is, this is a civil matter, purely civil matter. There's a contract, the contract has not been respected, then of course you might want to hold the person accountable, but this is not a criminal offense. There's no reason why you should be detained. Cynthia went to the gendarmerie because apparently the plaintiff has a relative there. So she was then held by the gendarmerie, and that it was decided that she would be referred to the public prosecutor. She went to the public prosecutor. That's where, because I'm not in Douala right now, as her legal counsel. Yes. So I asked a colleague to come and help. So she spent the first night in police, in gendarmerie custody, and she was sent to the public prosecutor the following day. And the public prosecutor decided, okay, get to an agreement, bring back half of the money at least, and you will be released with the guarantor. You have to come back here on Wednesday. So she went back, and she was surprised to be taken back, not to the gendarmerie, but to the judicial police, where she spent another night. And that's where conversation started about her having to give some money to the police to be released, to have a file processed and things like that. And she doesn't have the money, obviously. That is the reason why she could not pay 20,000 in the first place. And her daughter, who is 11-year-old, has been staying in the house, looked after by a neighbor for that amount of time. So she reached out to the family because it was getting out of control. That's with the entirety of the money to give it to the commandant of the brigade, this Mr. Medua. But
So
the man refused to take the money.
Okay, the man refused to take the money.
Yes, the commandant of the gendarmerie refused to take the money, saying that she should give some more money for the matter to be settled. And she doesn't have the money. So she's been under a lot of pressure. And that's how it dragged and dragged and dragged. She's been constantly sending me voice notes as the day was going, that she's seeing that plaintiff coming in and out, a private investigator coming in and out of the office of the commandant de brigade. And it looks like they want to hold her another night there. So if you see that she's so emotional, is that she doesn't understand what is happening. It is clear that the public prosecutor has said, bring a guarantor and you can go back home. And the commandant de brigade is refusing to obey to that instruction. So that means she's being held in that gendarmerie without any authorization, any authority from the gendarmerie.
Yeah, because the order for her release, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yes.
I just wanted to tell our viewers that these are pictures of the commander himself that we can see on the screen, and we were able to get images of the commander, who has taken upon himself to keep a young woman who has a daughter. I earlier said it was a son, but it's actually a daughter. She is the primary guardian of the child, as we could hear from Barrister Michelle Doki. And she's not been with the child for more than 48 hours. She doesn't know what is going to be happening in the coming hours. And she is being held there. She doesn't know what tomorrow even holds for her. So, Barrister, I just wanted to find out from you, should she actually be held when the state prosecutor has ordered for her release? What does this tell us?
So this is the reason why I'm so grateful to you that you are bringing that to the public attention, because we need to know what the law says about these things, and we need to learn to stand our ground. This young girl is just punished because she was trying to stand her ground. She's explaining that I don't have money. It is the reason why for 20,000 that I was supposed to pay, I could not pay 20,000 in March. How can I now pay 15,000 here, 10,000 here, 50,000 here? I don't have that money. So the farmer, her mother came to the rescue. The whole family managed to collect the whole amount that is still owed to that plaintiff. Take the money. Why is it that they are saying now that it is not enough and she should be staying there? So what she said to me in one of her voice notes is that actually those gendarmes are applying pressure to her for them to get some extra money. And her mother had been begging and begging and begging this Mr. Medwa. And he will send her away abruptly, chase her away from the gendarmerie, refusing that she grants she signed the guarantor's document that she's supposed to sign as per the instruction of the public prosecutor, refusing that she will pay what is owed so that the whole matter is settled. And I'm very, very worried because last night, the first night already, she explained that they are put into the same cell as men. And that when she realized that she was going to spend another night, that's where she completely broke down at the idea. And she was crying that they want me to spend another night here, and they want me to spend, and I can't, I don't want to spend another night here. And of course, this is worrying because there must be something that she's really afraid of.
Because if
There's
the
no
gendarme,
way.
if the
Yes, and
gendarme
there's
officer
no
who is
way.
supposed to if the gendarme officer who is supposed to protect her, ensure that her rights are respected, ensure that there is justice, because that's the role of any person in uniform. You're supposed to ensure that the rights of citizens are respected. They are they survive on taxpayers' money. Cameroonians pay for their salaries. Cameroonians are the ones that take care of them. So they have the duty to protect the civilian population. And this Cynthia's case, Cynthia is just one of those civilians that is supposed to be protected by a gendarmerie official. But if it's instead the contrary, why would she not be scared? If you cannot respect her basic rights and you're holding her alongside other men, why would she not be worried? She'll be worried.
Yes. And everyone has now left. The head of the brigade has left. This investigator has left. That means they are left all alone in a cell, and there's no way you will hold in custody men and women together. There's no way. This is illegal. You must provide for a separate, so there's no legal ground for keeping her. First of all, there's no reason why a civil matter will have somebody ending up in custody, in police office. Okay, it is not a criminal matter. Secondly, she's already given the money, so the whole matter should now be settled. Her mother came with the whole amount and say, okay, this is the amount. Let us forget about the story. And she was chased away. Thirdly, the public prosecutor said, release her. If she has a guarantor, release her. Let her pay half of the money and come back on Wednesday. When she gets to the gendarmerie, the head of the unit says, that's not how it's going to be dealt with. You bring the whole amount, or you're staying here, you're spending another night here. The mother comes with the money, still not enough. I want more. Now,
Okay.
if you are keeping her, for crying out loud, How can you keep her a whole night in a dark cell with mail?
That's a very sad one, just so that the audience will understand. And also, I understand that she's paid the 70,000 francs. What she has to pay now is bribe,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
let us call it the way it is. So she has to bribe the gendarmerie officers to leave the cell. That is what is
exactly.
needed now because she's paid the
And they are
money.
saying them, yes. And not only should she bribe, she should get what is asking for. If not, she should be kept in jail. So that's
So I was
bribe,
just
but
asking this
it's
because
also blackmailing. Blackmailing,
there was someone who was asking whether the
mhm,
lady is just being detained for $100. Yes, that's why she's
yes,
been less than $100. And Barrister Michelle Doki could just pay the money, or even her colleagues, or we could just say, okay, someone that knows her around could pay the money. But sometimes it's not just paying the money and dropping the case and letting it go. Sometimes we need to hold this discussion because it's happening almost every day. It's happening, it's affecting Cameroonians, even in remote areas where there are no telephones, Cameroonians who do not even have access to lawyers, Cameroonians who are not even aware of what their rights are. That's why we are having this conversation. It's very, very important because anyone can just pay the money and get the lady released. But then what happens to the chain of impunity? What happens to the chain of injustice that we see every day in Cameroon? What happens to the fact that someone would take it upon himself because he's in a position of power to get someone arrested even after a prosecutor says, get her released, and the person decides to keep that lady in detention alongside men? Barrister, I just want to find out from you, what does the case of Cynthia tell us about the justice system in Cameroon? What does it tell us?
that there's none. That there's no justice system in Cameroon. As a human rights lawyer, I see that too many times. When that, I told you I'm in Mara today. When that story, that when Cynthia called me the day before yesterday about that issue, I was dealing with a similar issue of a woman in Marwa. A civil, human rights activist just brought that case to my attention, knowing that I was around. Young woman who was attacked with a cutlass, and she recorded it. There's a video. She has been going up and down since the 18th of March last month to get the perpetrator arrested. He was detained for a few days, was released on Tuesday, and she has assaulted her as soon as he got out. She has now run away from her home because she's worried that he might end up killing her. So this happens too many times, and too many times our response is, let's pay, let us just forget about it, let us leave that place, let peace reign. There's no peace until people start to abide to the law. When you get to a point where people, we can criticize the law, but now that there are laws, regulations, and people inside the judicial system, inside the security forces decide, I don't care, where do we go? How can we regulate relationship between human beings in a community if you can't abide to the law? That is to tell everyone, see if you are stronger, use force. And it's not a sustainable way to live as a community. So we have to stand and to defend the law and make sure that people are brought back in line. And that is the reason why lives like what you're doing are so important. And that is not a system. We have to hold specific person accountable and tell them, you need to explain why you are violating the law when it comes to this. That's the only way to discourage this kind of behavior.
Yes, Barista, I just also wanted to talk about the culture of silence is rife now in Cameroon. Many victims would probably just solve it quietly and then just stay quiet. But that trauma would always linger on. We have so many victims in different parts of Cameroon, others even still in detention because they were in the same situation like Cynthia, but didn't know how to go about it or to get themselves out of that situation. I wanted to find out from you, how can we start ensuring, especially human rights lawyer like yourself, start ensuring that victims start speaking up? Because the more people start coming out to talk, denounce some of these injustices, the lesser cases we are going to have. How can we ensure that victims start speaking up? Are there guarantees that there would be, let's say, solutions if more and more people come out and start talking? Or silence is the option?
I think the first thing is giving them reasons to believe if they speak out, something will change and it will end up well. Because the one thing that is discouraging is that somebody will speak out and will end up being in more trouble than before. So in the case of Cynthia, I'm also grateful that she wanted to do this, because it's not everyone who would be bold enough to do that. We need to follow up. We need to stand by her, asking with her that this commandant de brigade is held accountable, so that they know there are consequences. Impunity is no more a rule in our country. That will encourage someone. So when Cynthia sees that, oh, something, I decided to speak up and people stood by my side, then that there were consequences for that police officer, then it will encourage another person to do the same. And in no time, we will change that culture of impunity. We need to start. I understand and I realize it's not easy, but we need to start somewhere. And this might be a valid starting point. What I can tell you from experience as a human rights lawyer is that whenever people speak up, decide to stand their ground, there are consequences for those police officers and gendarmes systematically. The hierarchy never ever covers from them when you stand your ground. They will cover if there's just a denunciation, and then after that you leave the case. But when you decide to institute proceedings systematically, almost every single time, there are consequences for those officers, particularly these days.
Especially barrister, given that sometimes their hierarchy, the hierarchy is not even aware of what is happening. Sometimes
Exactly.
they just take it
Exactly.
upon
Most of
themselves.
the time, not only sometimes, most of the
Yes,
time.
most of the
You
time the
can see that
hierarchy is
the
not aware.
public prosecutor, yeah, you can see that. And the higher you go in the hierarchy, the more responsible people you see, because they understand the consequences of allowing this kind of thing to happen. This will create a culture of violence among the people. If the people start thinking there's no point going to the police, it will just make it worse, they would want to get justice by themselves. So at the higher level in the security forces, people understand that. That is the reason why they will never condone officially this kind of behavior. So I will encourage people to speak up. And I will encourage people to give support every time somebody is speaking up. Let's start, because that's another thing. People start by questioning, doubting, criticizing, asking for. But when there's a breach of the law, when there's a violation of the law from police forces or gendarmerie, especially because they are there to protect us, when they start becoming the threat, question that behavior first. The more we do that, the more we stand a chance to see that kind of behavior disappearing.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of questions and a lot of reactions. Barrister, just before we go, like you said, it's not going to be, not going to stop here until Cynthia is released. And if we have any other case that comes up, we have to take it to this same platform and talk about it. What I just wanted to find out is, what is going to be the way forward? We are not sure what is going to happen between now and tomorrow and the weekend. What will happen to Cynthia and what should happen?
What the one thing I can promise you, the one thing I can promise you is, right after the end of this call, I would flag to the head of that gendarmerie unit that we intend not to leave this there.
Mm-hmm.
I will try to get the public prosecutor's number. I would flag that this has already been brought to the public attention. I will see to it that we find the contact number of the said Secrétaire d'État à la Défense to tell him this is the kind of behavior we are denouncing day in, day out, to make sure that there are consequences for what is happening. That is the bit that I promise I will do. Once they know, the good thing about this whole thing is, once they know, they are no longer acting in the darkness. They leave it.
Thank you so much,
so because
Barrister.
Cynthia has been given an audience, yes, we are lucky. We are hopeful that things will go, everything will be fine in the end.
Hopefully everything will be fine. Before we go, we just want to listen to her briefly before we go again.
Dans mon unité qui est la brigade de Kouloulou, j'ai dit que je n'avais pas l'argent. Ensuite, les policiers de la PJ sont venus chercher hier. Ils sont venus me chercher, m'amener à la PJ. C'est comme ça que je dors à la PJ hier. Le matin, le même gendarme quand vient me dit que, voyez, comme te demandais 15 000, je n'avais pas. Donne-moi 10 000, je m'avais prendre ton dossier. Je lui ai dit toujours que je n'ai pas. Je suis restée là vers 10, 9, 10 heures. Il y a un gendarme de mon unité qui est la brigade de chef de Kouloulou qui vient. Il me prend, moi et un autre détenu. Il nous ramène maintenant à la brigade ici. Et il nous ramène à la brigade ici. Quand il nous ramène à la brigade ici, on prend maintenant le dossier. On prend le dossier, on donne à la petite regarde, elle me dit ceci, que s'il n'y a pas la la somme d'argent, tu ne sors pas. C'est que la maîtrise me dit, s'il n'y a pas de la somme d'argent, tu ne sors pas. Et je ne sors pas comment le procureur a demandé que je sorte sous garant, que je donne la moitié, je sorte sous garant et je reviens mercredi pour me faire redéférer au parquet. Comment est-ce qu'il va sortir? Nous ont menacé. Notre gardien appelle le Le commandant, il me menace aussi, il dit que, n'est-ce pas, j'ai trop les glaçons, j'appelle les gens, je ne peux pas appeler à des gens, j'appelle les gens, je vais voir ça, je vais rester là. C'est ce que le commandant me dit.
Okay, so this is Cynthia talking about her ordeal, explaining the situation, how at every stage she was asked to pay money. The contact you just saw is the contact of the Gendarmerie Brigade commander who has actually detained Cynthia. He's called Douala Patrick. Like you can see, we had access to his contact. You can also see him. He seems to be a father, a husband, and putting another mother in that situation is something that is so appalling. And that's why Barrister Michelle Ndoki was here this evening to shed light on that. One take home message that I have from this conversation is we cannot let Cynthia down. We have to come all of us together to see how to denounce this. And how can you be part of this conversation? How can you assist Cynthia? Probably share this live discussion so that it can go as far as possible, so that many people can have access to it and get to know what is happening, so that they can also be part of this conversation. They can be part of this change. They can also be part of making sure that Cynthia gets justice. And also, we have so many cases, probably people in different parts of Cameroon going through a similar situation. Our contacts are online. Please reach out, inbox, contact any lawyer. We can always have this conversation because we have them in our inbox almost every week. Thank you for all of those who had time to join us this evening. It was an impromptu live discussion. We will do that, like I said, from time to time. We appreciate all your participation, your contributions, your engagements, and we will appreciate you more if you share this live discussion. Thank you once again for joining us. We will keep you updated until we meet again on this same platform. Goodbye.